Nation, what is up, everybody? Pop, pop, boom. Welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I am your host tonight for PCP Movie Night. I am Rockin' Robbie Bills. We got a great panel tonight for the grand finale of March Madness 2023, and we've been leaning into the Italian stuff, but we're switching it up, and we're going to Japan. Japanese crime, horror, comedy from Takashi Miike. Very excited to talk about this one. We talked about Audition during Horror Fest last year, and that was when I was like, I got to get the guys to watch Ichi. Very excited because tonight, yes, we're talking about Ichi the Killer from Takashi Miike, 2001 film. It is an adaptation of a manga of the same name. It is violent. It is ridiculous. It's got terrible effects. It's got brilliant effects. It's a whole mixed bag, but it is definitely an experience to experience. Speaking of experiencing experiences, it is Brian. What is up, my man? How you doing?
Oh, doing great, man. Glad to be here. Heck yeah, man. I experience stuff all the time.
Yes, you do. And you experienced this one first time, right?
This was my first time, yes. And yeah, I was I watched it in two sections, and I was eating like through both of them, and yeah, I feel like I got a strong stomach.
Yeah,
I proved that.
Yeah, that's nice. It depends on the scenes that you're watching. Actually, if you're watching the very beginning of this movie, you better have a strong stomach. Speaking of strong stomachs, the Hammer Time Holshoe's in the house. What is up, my man?
Yeah, I also was eating during this, and it's not recommended. I don't think my stomach is as strong as Brian's by any means. It's I'm good, man. I'm good. Happy to be on. I know we talked. I said, hey, if you do some Japanese films, get me on. You said yes, and then I almost bailed on this one, but I'm happy I watched it. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, I was expecting a little bit more play-by-play from your viewing today, but the one thing that you were obsessed with was finding the Honda Super Cub, right?
Yeah, there's a scene where it's shortly after you see the guy dead in the TV on the street that you see them walking out, and he walks past the Honda Super Cub. I'm like, yes! And so I tried to screenshot it, but it didn't work, so I just cropped it and sent it to you.
Nice.
There's always a Honda. If they do something live action, Honda Super Cub's going to sneak in there, man.
You know,
I'm even rocking my Honda shirt. Look at this.
Oh, yeah, look at that. Speaking of Hondas, he doesn't drive one, but he's our very own PCP Super Cub is Brooks. What is up, my man?
What's up?
You're always so enthusiastic. I would tell you this one thing about you, Brooks, is there's no love in your violence. It's a line from the movie, guys. Come on.
Yep.
All right. Anyway, it made me think of the Bush song, Everything's In, where he's like, there's no sex in the violence. I was listening to Bush today. Everybody's making fun of me for being an old head and listening to Bush.
Oh, Bush is so awesome.
Yeah, but we've become those guys. We've become those guys. And Brian's a little bit older than us. So Brian's like, who's Bush? What's Bush? Like the president?
I remember them. No, I remember them.
Okay. I remember the president too. Both of them. Yeah. Anyway, tonight we're talking about Ichi the Killer. Giuliani will be joining us shortly. Both Joe and Verno had to drop out actually, Verno was Joe's replacement after Joe dropped out. Then Verno dropped out, and I'm sure they have great excuses, but I just don't think they can handle it. You know what I'm saying? I think they were like John, and they're watching this movie, they're harfing. If like John didn't have the Hondas to look out for, he probably wouldn't have made it through the movie. I was expecting John to say something in return, but he didn't. All right.
Well, I was going to bring up the ladies, but I feel I didn't want to be a pervert. I don't want to be Jelani until Jelani gets here.
You don't want to stoop to that level until Jelani shows up. So we appreciate everybody out there in the chat for showing up to show some love for PCP Movie Night and the grand finale of March Madness 2023. Let's get into it. Okay. I first became aware of Takashi Miike because of Audition. Then I hear about this movie, Ichi the Killer, from my homie Chris, who at the time was like, man, this is like the most bold, daring take on Batman and the Joker ever. With Ichi being Batman and Kakahiru, right? Is that his
Kakihara?
Kakihara being Joker, right? And in a way, it kind of works, but the scripts are flipped a little bit, but it's based on a manga. And the movie, when people... Like when I first saw this movie, it had this reputation. It was hyper violent. It was very gory. And when I watched it, it's like, it's a little bit more fun too. Like, and I know that it's weird to say that this movie is fun because it does have some heinous torture. It's got some horrific mistreatment of women. You know what I'm saying? It's got horrific mistreatment of humans and bodies rent asunder. Some of them done very effectively, some of them not so effectively. But I think this movie's fun, and it's got this comedic kind of element to it that took me by surprise. Now, I hadn't seen this film in a long time. Audition is the Miike film that I kind of go back to. I've seen Imprint a couple times. I remember Dead or Alive. I got the Black Society trilogy, but I haven't jumped into that yet. Then we got The Happiness of the Katakuris. So I'm a fan, but this dude's done over 100 films, right? Like, he is a very prolific director. He does not say no to shit. He's like the Samuel L. Jackson of Japan, right? If you can pay me, I'll fucking do it. But he does have this reputation for doing these violent movies, but it's actually, I think it's kind of unfair to him, but he does make a lot of crime movies. And this is definitely like a Yakuza film through a comedic tint with a lot of torture porn. Like, if you think Eli Roth is too much to handle, I don't know if this is quite your movie. And of course, Audition has some pretty nice torture scenes in there as well. You're right, Road Collecting. 16 Stone is so damn good. But I really, I know you liked it, Blood Splatter Chatter. I know you made it through it twice. I like this film, and I was really happy to revisit it. It's not going to be to everybody's taste, but it's to my taste because it is violent. It has the gore. It's got the torture, but I enjoy the story because the story kind of has this, like, you know, a lot of manga they make anime adaptations of, right? And this almost feels like an anime adaptation where there's segments within this movie where they spotlight a secondary or a third character, right? And they really kind of flesh it out. And you can imagine those being whole episodes of an anime or something like that. And I've never read the manga, but maybe that's how that was structured, right? I did look up some stuff online, and I was looking at some images, and I was like, some of this is like exactly what they do in the movie. Like when dude gets his fist stuck in Ichi's mouth, or in what's his name? Kakihara. And he gets the guy everybody thinks is Ichi is not. It's not the dude with the scars or whatever. But I love this film. I love this structure. It's a long film. It's over 2 hours, but it feels almost like a series, like a truncated series, right? With the best of bits or something like that. But it really does take its time to, I think, develop this world through the lens of all the characters. And sometimes it goes away from these characters, then it will come back. And every little piece of information that we find out comes to fruition towards the end and has a purpose. So I actually really, really like this film, but I know it's not going to be to everybody's taste. So I'm curious, PCP Army, what do you think about Ichi the Killer? Let us know overall in the chat. And Brian, why don't you kick us off right now?
Okay. Yeah. This is my first time watching this movie and any Miike movie. I will say, like, I'm not sure I will watch this one again. I don't know. I might. It was a lot. I also saw it the same weekend I saw Banshees of Inisherin. So that was a whole lot heavy, you know, there. But I did. I mean, overall, I liked the movie. And it did make me want to check out some more of his films for sure. But yeah, I was definitely laughing at a lot of the parts. I mean, it was, there's definitely the comedy element was there and everything. And yeah, some of it was just so ridiculous that it was just, I don't know, but yeah, I overall enjoyed it, and I'm desensitized to violence for a while. So
yeah,
it may come back. But
well, one thing that's crazy is that when I was watching it this time, I was like, it's still violent, it's still brutal, but it's not as violent and brutal as I remembered it, or maybe there's just been more. We always push that line. We push that threshold, right? This movie came out in 2001. In 2001, this blew my fucking mind back in the early aughts, right? But nowadays, it's kind of like, oh, okay, I've seen this kind of stuff before. It's not that big of a deal. See some guy get hot-ass frying oil poured all over him, right? It's not that big of a deal. And some of the CG is really bad, but it's also bad in a very, like, humorous way to me. Like, when dude gets
GG
split.
part.
The splitting up, yeah.
And he's like, it's just like... It's so bad. And then when the dude takes off the suit, right? The guy who's like orchestrating everything, and he's super, and it's just like we would have done that. Like that, we have that capability here at PCP. Like John could whip that scene up together, right? We just need the big fucking muscular dude, right? But we could do that. Speaking of John can do it, Hammer Time. You love Japan and Japanese culture. you're learning Japanese, and I'm
Yeah.
curious as to what you thought about this one and how it represents Japan cinema.
Well, I kind of knew what I was getting into because I saw the audition because of you. You're like, hey, watch this movie. We're going to do a review of this movie. And I kind of knew.
And I sold it to you as a romantic comedy, right?
Yeah.
And,
yeah. And I was really expecting that. And it was. And, but when I looked up the director, obviously, Ichi the Killer is one of his most famous films or most popular films. So I'm like, oh yeah, I'll watch that. If we ever watch it, I'll watch it and participate. And then here we are. And I knew it was kind of going to be kind of dark and twisted and kind of screwed up. And I was familiar with the manga. I didn't read the manga, but I'm familiar with what I knew it was about the Yakuza. I knew Kakihara was who I thought of. I was going to be Ichi because in all these, anything about the manga, you always see his, his weird smile and everything. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. So, and it looks a lot like that in the manga. So I was familiar with the manga. I knew that's all I knew. I knew it was that guy. I thought that was Ichi, and I knew it was about the Yakuza, and that's all I knew. But I didn't actually read the manga because I'm illiterate. But I ended up. So you said, "Hey, come participate, watch this." I'm like, okay, I kind of know it's going to be kind of dark, kind of fucked up, but I know it's also going to be kind of like, I don't know. The director's also kind of does like. He doesn't just do dark for sake of being dark. He's very interesting style. He doesn't do just, you know what I'm saying? He's a very interesting character. And that's why if you would have said this was original, not based on a manga, not knowing that, I would have gone into this and be like, oh yeah, this fits. But I've only seen the audition. You know what I'm saying? But I went and watched it. I enjoyed it. Yeah, some of the CG was bad. Some of the practical effects, or appear to be practical effects, were pretty great. Some of the torturing stuff was pretty amazing, disturbing, disgusting. I definitely had to look away during the cutting the tongue off thing. So
that's one of the best scenes, man. And he just does it like nothing. And I love the response from everybody. They're like, nobody's done this shit in 200 years, bro. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, it was definitely not. I don't know. The movie wasn't what I expected, but at the same time, it's sort of what I expect from that director, if that makes any sense. Yeah. And it was an interesting film. I don't know if I would rewatch it. I don't know if I would run out and buy the blue, even though I heard it was remastered in 4K. They did a good job, remastering it and everything. But it was interesting. I'll give you that. It was definitely interesting. If you like his other films, definitely worth checking out if you haven't seen it. I guess there was a prequel made based on the same manga. Yeah. I haven't seen that.
It's got the same dude playing Ichi in it as well.
Oh, really? And then they have there's an anime series I think it's also based on that I think is like supposed to be the third part that's also based on the manga, and I think it covers all the manga between all the films and everything. But it was interesting. It was interesting. I was really actually surprised that Karen spoke so much English because everything else is in Japanese.
Too, yeah,
and she spoke English, and I'm like, what the hell?
Is that a common thing over there where because I know it's common to use English phrases, but like just to like randomly break into English, it was odd to me. I didn't understand.
I don't think it is. I've never noticed that. Say occasional phrases or occasional things that we say over here that have caught on over there, but not she would just stop. And I'm like, God, I hope the people she's talking to actually know what she's saying. Because they might not know English. I thought I was surprised by that. But I enjoyed it. It was an interesting film. That's for sure. And definitely I'm happy that I watched it.
So it's interesting they did a 4K. The Blu-ray looks fine and looks great for a movie that was shot in 16 millimeter.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right, Brooks. This was your first time watching Ichi the Killer. You've heard me talk about it, I'm sure, for years now. You've heard Jelani mention it. Like, maybe you haven't. I don't know. But what'd you think, bro? I'm curious because I don't know if you've been on board with March Madness so far this year. So
I loved it. I came into this movie knowing it was going to be kind of like it was going to be different, and it lived up to those expectations. But yeah, I liked it. It's like it is a very grim movie in a lot of ways, but not in like a miserable way, sort of. And like about a lot of crazy, heinous shit happens in it. But it's just like it's kind of just the nature of the movie's tone. It just takes place in this world where like life is cheap and violence is commonplace. And it's just like you can do that like really wrong, you know, if you don't have the heart behind it, you know. I think this movie does have, you know, it has the heart in a way, and it's crazy, but you know, it's also quite entertaining in a lot of ways as well.
Man, you just made my night, Brooks, man. We can end the show right now, man. I'm just so happy to hear you actually like a fucking movie.
All right, let's do it. Good night, guys.
Good night, everybody. See you next time. Go watch Ichi the Killer. Hell yeah, man. I'm glad that you guys seem to like it. Brooks and Brooks, will you watch this one again?
Oh yeah, totally. I totally watch this one.
Fuck yeah, right? Because they do build this world out with so many characters.
Yeah, I feel like I've missed a few things too. Like I feel like if I watched it again, I'd probably get a little more out of it.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because the first time you watch it, you're not necessarily paying attention to the opening like 10 minutes. So you don't really quite know what's going on. You're like, that dude just jizz on this fucking plant? And did they just show it in full detail? And did the title of the movie just pop up within the jizz? Yes. That's exactly what happens, right? And then, but everything is explained to the audience in the first 5 minutes of this film, right? Here's Ichi. This is his complex. Here are the people responsible for killing this boss, right? And the whole rest of the movie is, don't help me, Kakihara, right?
Yep.
Okay, Kakihara. The whole rest of the movie is him like trying to find his boss, and there's some kind of weird like psychosexual thing going on with him and his boss, and he wants to be tortured. And even when the chick's doing it, he's like, that's when he says, there's no love in your violence. This isn't working for me. It's not. And it was the opposite of the typical thing. He goes, it's not me, it's you. Like, you're just not doing it, good enough. But a great cast of characters. And I hate to do this, but I'm going to go with Kakihara as my favorite character, just to get that out of the way, because I want y'all to stretch a little bit further. But an instantaneously iconic look. And he gets compared to the Joker because of the looks, right? And he's really into torture, not just of other people, but of himself, right? And he's into self-mutilation. So there is that kind of idea to it, but Ichi actually feels more like the Joker to me, right? Like the Joker and Batman combined into one fucked up fucking thing. You know what I'm saying? But he is so cold, so calm, so collected and badass, got a great sense of style. His suits that he wears, the way he responds to things, everything's so nonchalant. And even at the end, when he finds out that Ichi's coming, he's excited, bruh. He's like, I'm ready.
I felt this way in so long.
I know, right? And I love it. Like when one dude's like running down the stairs to get away from everything, and Kakihara is like running up the stairs to like, I don't know, man. It's just like, it's a fun little, because it's got comedy. I love the bit where he goes and he sees most of his gang just decimated and their guts all over the fucking place. And he's just like,
I want to meet this guy.
He's like, this is crazy. I want to meet the person who does this, right? Like, I absolutely loved him in this movie. He oozes personality, and he does it without being so overly flamboyant. He's not chewing scenery like anybody else who had this kind of a role would have done, right? So, Brian, what's a performance you want to highlight, my man?
Well, I do want to point out that was who I was going to pick, but he's also Hogan in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, by the way.
Hogan? Fucking Thor?
The Thor movies? Yeah.
He's one of the Warriors. Oh, my goodness gracious.
I thought that was pretty funny.
It's blew my fucking world, man. That's the reach of Disney, right?
Yeah. But he also, I mean, like his clothes, man, I would totally wear all that stuff. His clothes are so freaking dope, man. I don't know. He looks so cool. But I'll go with, I didn't catch most of the characters' names, but the one that sniffed him out, the one that put the dog ears on and went sniffing. Really? I kind of like that whole.
What a great bit, right? Like I don't want to get vulgar, but like he basically smells a sex worker's sexual organs after this one dude has had relations with her, and therefore he can now track this dude. And he's got to put the fucking dog ears on.
Yep. Yep. And then they use that because when he shows up to his, his flat or whatever, I mean, like you can see his silhouette in the window, and you can clearly see the ears and everything like that. But yeah, I like those guys' outfits too, because they were the ones that were wearing the clear masks too, I think, in one part. And those things I thought were pretty cool.
And
but
they're
yeah,
detectives. Like that's another thing is
they're
they're actually detectives. They're not just necessarily, I mean, they're criminals, but they're not solely in the criminal light. They're like this is showing a very
they're corrupt policemen, right?
exactly. This is showing a very gray criminal world between the police and the Yakuza, right?
Yakuza.
Yeah. You're not going to find a
Yakuza. Is that the correct way, John?
Yeah,
Yakuza? Well, I don't want to get on anybody's fucking nerves, right? So, like, I understand.
You have to cut off some fingers, brother.
But yeah,
those two guys kind of remind me of the two from what's the Gerard Way Umbrella Academy? You know the two that are like chasing them.
Hazel and Cha-Cha.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of because they're like I don't know, man. I don't know why it reminded me of them so much, but those two, yeah, that's a good thing.
Dude, what about when the one finds his brother dead and his like head's been crushed in, and he's just like, whoa. That's awesome.
And also, he's like gets that sense. He's like happened to my big brother, so he knew his brother was being.
My brother just died.
Oh yeah, that was great.
Way when my last brother died.
Yeah, I want to know their story. That's a great pick, Brian. Thank you for that. What about you, Hammer Time Holshoe? Yakuza?
I'm gonna bring up.
Is it Yakuza? Say it again.
Yakuza. Yeah.
Yakuza. All right. We don't want to piss them off. So I know you've sent in your application. So
I don't have enough tattoos. I don't have any tattoos. Damn it.
Did you send a finger in with your application?
I sent him some seductive photos of Brooks. That'll get me in.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll get you anywhere.
He had to Photoshop in some tattoos, though.
That's what I got into college, actually. I'm like when I wasn't accepted, I'm like, look at these pictures of Brooks, and like, you're in. I'm gonna go with Pauline Soon, who plays Karen. She is gorgeous, but I was like, oh, she just got a bit part. You know, she kind of ties people together because she works at the club or whatever. But she doesn't have a bit part. But when later on she shows up and she finds Ichi and she pretends to be that girl, what a fucked up scene. You know what I'm saying? She's like trying to get him going, but but she's not trying to get murdered, but it kind of backfires on her. And it's man, that whole thing is crazy. So I'm like, why would she pretend? You know, because prior to that, I didn't understand the hypnotism or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I know Ichi wasn't all there as far as his like why he kills and him being sort of like, I don't know. The movie is very, it ties a lot of sexual with the murders. You know what I'm saying? And getting off on the murder. It's very kind of such a fucking bizarre film. And she kind of wrapped herself into that to try to get to Ichi. But once she knew where Ichi was, why didn't she go tell Kakihara or something? I don't know why she was just like, I can handle this. Spoiler alerts, she couldn't.
Dude, her death scene and then the other lady's death scene where they're just like spewing blood out of their fucking throats. Like, it's just, I love that stuff, man. You know, Tarantino's a fan of Miike. Like, so much of a fan that he's in one of his movies, actually. I don't remember which one it is, but he's in one of his movies. That
makes perfect sense, actually. So it's definitely, yeah.
Well, I had a feeling you were going to go for Karen there. What about you, Brooks? What's the performance you want to highlight?
Yeah, I was going to pick Karen, but then like I saw Holshoe was here and he's before me. I'm like, God damn it. I had to shift. So I'll take Ichi. Ichi is he's an interesting hero, and he doesn't really make his appearance until much later in the movie. Like, you know, you get mostly the Yakuza guy, the Joker face guy.
Yakuza.
Yeah, but he's like kind of the driving force in the movie early on. Ichi doesn't really get much time until later on, but I like this kind of like this weird relationship that, you know, he has with this guy who he's never even met. Like the fact that this, you know, crazy Yakuza guy is like looking for him, and he doesn't even like realize the scope of what he's doing. He just kind of like, he kills this crime boss because to impress this girl basically, and I guess to get revenge for her, sort of. And then like, it's just like, he doesn't, like this weird split personality thing he has is like pretty interesting, I think, because he is kind of like a weird, creepy douchebag. But, you know, it's just like, you know, he wants to not be, I guess. He wants to be a good guy, but he's still kind of this weird, creepy dude. and he's being manipulated by this other guy too.
Yeah, that's
So you kind of
why
feel a
he
little
kills.
sorry
That's
for
why he
him.
kills the boss, right? Because he's manipulated, and the ultimate
Mhm.
reason is greed. They want the money, right? Like that's
Yeah.
the whole reason. And this has been going on for a while. I guess this is why they did the prequel. Is that like this dude's been like fucked with his whole entire life, almost? It seems, right?
Yeah, it's like I'm kind of curious as to like how he got like his fighting abilities and stuff. Like if he had to go through some kind of like crazy ass training.
Yeah, he is a badass. Like when he flips the switch, he is a badass.
Yeah,
And he
it's
cries,
like,
but
he's just a kind of a cringing pussy, and then all of a sudden he goes berserker mode.
Yeah, with that foot blade. Speaking of foot blades, this dude's got a blade action figure strapped on his shoe right now. It's Jelani. What is up, my man? Where's Jelani? There he is. Jelani, what is up, my man?
very pixely, Jelani.
Yeah, it's what it is. What's up?
Dylan coming live from Dylan's room. Jelani's his. But Jelani, you're a fan of this movie. You've seen this before. This was not your first time watching it. Why don't you tell us your overall thoughts, especially in particular on the rewatch?
God, I love this movie. I love the crap out of this movie. This is one of my favorite freaking just splatterhouse nonsense films. It's supposed to make no sense, and it this is what March Madness is supposed to be. Like this, just like why? What? It's one of those films I haven't seen in like 20 some odd years, but like I watched it again and it picked right back up. It's paced well. It's claustrophobic and it's like wide open at the same time. It just feels like, you know, it's cringy, but at the same time you're like, oh wow, it looks pretty too. Because all the characters are insane. Everybody in this movie, even like you guys were talking about Karen. I was gonna be Karen too. I was like, damn it, hold you. It's just one of those things where each of the characters has their own little quirk, and it works well with the film. Like you get down to like even if a cop that lost his gun, who by the way is gonna be my favorite character in this movie because he's so like I don't know. He was a good man, but he just lost his gun. And because he lost his gun, he lost his wife, he lost social standing, he lost his job. All these things just like cascade down on him. And just like, now he's just killing people. Now he's just like, I'm all in on this. This is my new job. This is how it's going to be. And it's just such a flawed man, but at the same time, I think he was trying to do it just to feel important. Like his entire life was important. But like I said, going back to the film itself, it's visually stunning. I love every minute of it. The kills are perfect. The only downsides, I don't know if we talked about the sound structure. Yes, we haven't. But it's like the CG is, oh my god, it leaves a lot to be desired. But it's 2001, so like I understand. You know, starting the VFX aren't going to be the greatest, and we're going to be talking about that. But overall, I love this film. This is a fantastic watch. If you haven't watched it, please watch it. It's messy. It's gross. It's got a hero that's just as insane as the villain, like on both ends. Like it's Batman and the Joker, pretty much. And it's so intense. It's a very intense film. I love watching it. I would watch it a second time. Actually, I was going to watch it 4 times, but I decided not to. You know, with the commentary and Argento's cut, I wasn't going to watch those yet. But yeah, those are my thoughts, man.
Hell yeah. And if anybody's curious, Jelani's internet is also from 2001. All right, so we're moving on. Nah, you're fine. I can pick up the gist of what you're saying, man. You're fine, Jelani. All right. Style and structure, as Jelani was alluding to. I do like the style a lot. I think the style is great. That's one of my favorite things about Miike is, yes, he's violent. It can be gory. That's not his only kind of tribute. I mean, it's not the only talent he brings to filmmaking. He is a incredibly well crafted director, right? Like visually and putting his movies together and editing. This is a movie that's over 2 hours. It doesn't feel that way to me. It takes the time and the story and with the structure, like I said, where it almost goes into these like little vignettes. Like you don't know that one gunman's a big important character until they decide to take time out and explain his background, his story, and he's got his kid there and this and that, right? I love that. I love that this movie takes the time. And I also love that it doesn't over-explain itself, right? That it just lays it out and it just keeps following it. And it does, because of this kind of structure, reward multiple viewings because you catch little things, little references here and there. The violence is awesome. Even the shitty CG, it works for me because this movie,
It works.
yeah, this movie is not taking itself very seriously. And I love what Verno's been saying here.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't want my Verno said,
Yeah.
if this movie was shot like more realistically, like Last House or Henry, you couldn't have stomached it, right? And it does kind of tread that line of comedy, crime, and true horror at the same time. Brian, what do you think about the style and structure of this film?
Yeah, that was well said, and I appreciated a lot of that actually. I did watch it in kind of 2 sittings, but that was just because I started it so late the first night. I just had to go to bed, but it was never. I didn't stop it because it was like slow, and I wanted to do something else. I mean, it's a little over 2 hours, but honestly, the pacing was so good that like that, you couldn't tell. And visually, it was just stunning. And a lot of the scenes, a lot of frenetic scenes, a lot of where the characters are staring at you, directly in the thing to add that extra unsettling feeling and everything. And I really liked some of the way they did some of the jump cuts with people in the streets and, with the like kind of grainy photos and all that stuff. And when they had the music amped up with, paired with that, it was really, really effective. For a movie that's as violent as it is, it still had a pretty good story structure and plenty of story there to grab onto. I mean that the violence, it didn't it wasn't just watching one violent thing after another, and yeah, some of it was cheesy looking, but honestly that was fine. I mean it's part of that was just some of that was just comedic effect too. I think what I mean. It ended up just adding to the comedy of what was going on. So no, I know. And that's part of why I want to watch more of his movies, because clearly he's an awesome filmmaker, man. Because I mean that it just looked fantastic.
Speaking of looking fantastic, Hammer Time Holscher, you're looking rather lovely tonight. Why don't you tell us what you thought about the style and structure of this?
I like the style and the structure. It definitely does feel like a manga, the way the story is structured, for sure, and it makes sense because it's adapted from the manga. I don't think that the director had a lot of changes or input story-wise. I think he adapted the manga because I think the manga was, supposed to be pretty good. So I think he kind of stuck with it with minimal changes. I like the cinematography. I mean, that's definitely his style. I think it's shot beautifully. The CG is the little bits of CG that are in there are a little hard to stomach, but it kind of reminds me of if you look at OG Kamen Rider or Ultraman, back in the day, they used practical effects and it was amazing. But as the shows continued, you get the shows from the late 90s, early 2000s, and now they're adding CG, but it's really the most budget CG and it just ruins the show. It's only here and there, but it's oh God, we weren't ready for CG on Japanese television at this point.
Yeah, and they do that with Super Sentai too. You're just
yeah,
why?
Yeah, I go back to the practical effects until we get to, and now at least on the newer shows, the CG is there, but the little bit of CG unfortunately kind of ruins it. Not to the point where I'm oh, screw this movie, I'm done with this movie. But there's only 2 spots that I remember there being bad CG. It looked like the rest was for the most part practical effects, some of which I couldn't figure out. I'm how do you do that? It looks like practical, but when he puts the needle through his chin or whatever, that looked that looked realistic, and it was graphic.
Yeah, and I think those bits are actually CG. Some of them.
Oh,
right?
Is that CG? Maybe the rod was CG.
Yeah, some of them are, and some of the most weird things are CG'd. I guess you definitely want to have the bit. Like, I love the bit where Kakihiro takes the drag of the cigarette and he blows it out from his cheeks.
Yes, at the very
cool.
beginning. That's pretty
That's
fucking
CG.
metal.
But what's even crazier is that the drag of the cigarette is CG as well. Like the ember lighting up is CG, and you're like, why? And they're like, well, they did this shit on Spawn. They were CG, and John was almost Spark. Why can't we do it, right?
It's so there's just little bits. Some takes you out of it, but I mean, for the most part, the practical effects are pretty good. It wasn't enough to like stop me from watching the film. You know what I'm saying?
If you don't like the split scene, and I understand that, but like all that, but then you got a chick who gets her leg chopped off. She's hopping around, her throat slit. She's just spewing blood. Like, it's great.
Yeah, they spew a lot of blood, especially when they're cleaning up that one room and there's blood all over the ceiling. There's like an excessive amount of blood.
And it's one guy. Like what about when this is a CG bit, but I do like it. But when it shows the security footage of Ichi going into that room, and then you just see like walls of blood like just coming out.
Yeah.
Like
it's
Sam Raimi's like, exactly.
I wonder if he was a Sam Raimi fan. Like, I watched Evil Dead and I want this over the top.
Probably not, because when you read what Takashi says, like he's like, I don't even like violent films. I don't watch any of that shit. He's like, my movies are only violent. He literally will say, my movies are only violent because the characters in them are violent.
Yeah, I'm just adapting this. I'm not into violence.
Yeah.
But he keeps adapting violent content.
He's got stuff that's not so violent, but not the stuff I've seen, to be honest with you. So there you go. Dead or Alive is one you might really like, man. It's pretty freaking wild. It's like a cocaine haze of fucking ridiculousness is what it is to me.
Nothing to do with the video game Dead or Alive.
I don't think so at all. It shouldn't be. Like, right? Like, I've always kind of had that in the back of my head. Like, was it related? I don't know. No, it's not. It can't be. And then there's The Happiness of the Katakuris, which is based on a Korean film, and it's a musical that also has some weird fucking shit in it, and it's a wild one. It's a wild one. I would recommend that to anybody. Brooks, what do you think about the style and structure of this film?
Well, I liked it. This movie is like a fever dream for me. You know, it has that very like it's just very odd, but good. I mean, like for what it is. Like this movie reminded me like of like two movies that it reminded me like A Clockwork Orange and Kung Fu Hustle.
Yeah,
kind of like how if you'd like mash those two movies together, you'd
that's
have
a really good comparison. Actually,
that is a great comparison. Yeah.
So yeah, I thought it was like interesting, if nothing else.
It is definitely interesting. What about you, Jelani? What do you think about the style and structure of this film, as we like to call the S and the S?
Man, this freaking movie, man. Oh, it is paced well. I love the very beginning as well. The jump cut shots, the paused, like it'll show the city and then it pauses and then it goes in and out. I love those cuts, those real deep cuts. I love the practical effects that they did especially with Suzuki. I think Suzuki, his torture, him hanging with those hooks.
His reaction to that shit, just like, oh my god,
what? Just stop this! And it's awful, man. We pour his grease on him, like hot, like shrimp grease on his back, and it goes down his face. And I'm like, oh my god, it's awful. But I loved it. Like it's so aggressively violent. Like
it did make me want some shrimp tempura, though, for sure.
Yeah, I really like that.
It looked good.
Like, I need something crunchy. And then when you're watching this for the first time, you're like, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
And you're
He's
like,
cooking that shit for a reason, man.
He's like, I'm hungry. You want to eat something? Yeah, sure. Okay, so I
like how he's like, you know what, man? I'm gonna pour hot oil all over this motherfucker, but I'm not gonna waste this opportunity to cook up me and the boys shrimp.
Yeah, let's eat, guys.
You got to make work fun. You know what I'm saying?
It's so like
be efficient.
It's so beautiful how awful you can be tortured like that. Like you assume like in hot grease, like poured on your back, and it would like rip the hooks out. Like because you're just jerking so hard, unless he's got them connected to the tendons and all your muscles. That's probably the only reason why that guy didn't fall. But yeah, Oh yeah. A couple questions, few questions. One, what happened to Suzuki? Did he get killed in the bloodbath when Ichi like came in the room and like killed everybody? Was he in the room? Because I didn't see him again after a certain scene. I didn't see him anymore. Number two, what happened to Ichi? Like, I know the kid like kicked his ass at the end, like he was crying on the ground and the kid was like kicking him, but you know, the fever dream, he ends up like killing the kid, but that didn't happen. Like it was a hallucination. So I don't know if Takashi like he was dreaming that or whatever he did after he jammed those things in his ears. So yeah, I don't know that cut.
I think the idea of that ending is that it's like almost like this complex is being passed on to another kid, you know?
Okay, so he's freaked out too, and now he's gonna be like, Third, so the big muscle guy that was manipulating Ichi this entire time with the worst CGI ever for his head, I was like, that's a head on someone's body. I would have noticed that in 2000, but now I'm like, yeah, that looks bad. Like his head's moving like one direction and the neck is moving the other direction. It was kind of weird. But was that guy like, so that guy was just like hypnotizing people. So he hypnotized Karen into like walking in and like telling him that that's the girl that, you know, she couldn't save in his story, and she just wanted to get like cut up by someone.
Oh, was she hypnotized? That would explain it more. Yeah. I didn't understand why she
went. She got hypnotized. I think she got hypnotized.
That would make more sense because she asked if she was being hypnotized. He's like, no, and then she goes and confronts Ichi, and that's just suicide there. But maybe she was. That makes more sense.
Yeah, she was hypnotized into walking in there because, like, apparently the muscle guy had like this entire plan to kill all of these bosses. I don't know if they killed his wife or someone in his family or just his.
He was kicked out, right?
He was kicked out of the crew, so he was just like, I'm going to kill all these people, and so now I'm just going to hypnotize Ichi, who we know about, and go send him off and kill all these people.
Y'all got me messed up over the ending of this movie now, because
I don't think he killed the kid. Because
he did. He did
the kid because the kid killed Gigi.
Yeah,
the kid killed the muscle guy. That's what the end scene was, right? Was that guy hanging from the tree and him walking away?
The tree, and he walked away. He looked over and turned around, and he was like,
"Yeah, that was supposed to be Takashi, right? The kid."
Yeah, that's the kid. That's the kid grown up. Yeah, I had to piece it all together. Yeah, this took me like forever.
They did one of those fucking things with like they did with the muscular dude, where they put the kids like they put the face on like an older body or something like that, right? Something like that's the idea I got.
Yeah, so that's the kid grown up. He didn't die because what's his name stabbed himself in the ears. That was just his fever dream. Like because when he fell and hit the ground, which I thought was goofily shot, but when he fell, he didn't have the cut of the
Ichi didn't do that.
Ichi didn't kick him. He killed himself. He fell off the building himself because he was just like, I want to die. I wanted to die by his hand because I wanted to feel extreme pain. I wanted to feel that thing. And this movie tells that story brilliantly. You don't beat me over the head with it. There's no crazy, like, stupid exposition, except for kind of sort of when the old man is talking to Karen. Kind of sort of. She's like, tell me about Ichi. And he's like, I guess I will. And he gives him the backstory. That's a kind of exposition, but
you need necessary. You need that in that element because in that moment, because they're showing you this dude's past and they're adding new dimensions and layers to it to let you know that what we told you before is not really quite fully accurate, right? He's a Wolverine. He's got like memory implants, basically, right?
Yeah.
This is like Wolverine 50, where they're like, we're going to reveal everything, but they don't. It's all bullshit. They don't.
Yeah, they really don't. And you don't know what happened
when they do reveal everything. You're like, that's it?
Yeah.
A redhead?
He's always
and
been
a
crazy.
saber tooth. Yep. Never mind. Wasn't even really saber tooth.
Anyway. But yeah.
Skull.
That's it.
All right. Let's talk about the music in the film. I like the music. It's industrial is not the right word. But it has this kind of like frantic nature to it that at times reminds me of a lot of the music in some of my favorite animes that I've seen. In particular, it makes me think a lot about Cowboy Bebop, right? Because it's kind of got this like jazzy bongo-y thing. It comes in, it's like now it's not as dynamic as something like Cowboy Bebop, but what I'm saying is that it's got a frantic nature to it. It has moments where it's like very like piercing, but the way that is juxtapositioned with some of the crazier moments of the score, this movie feels very flowy. It never feels like super tight and intentional. Now, that's the brilliant of the intention of this film, because it is very tight with how it's structured, but it has this feeling of you don't know where this shit's going to go, right? And the music does the same thing to me. It doesn't do cliche things. It plays around with different sounds, different tones even, and just effects. And it really, to me, is a very effectual score. What about you, Brian? What do you think about the music?
Oh, yeah. I'm not sure if it's my favorite part of it, but it's definitely one of the highlights of the movie for me is the music. It's a side project of this group called Boredoms, who is part of that Japanese noise movement from the early 90s. And I can only name two bands from that, which is Melt Banana and Boredoms. And they're not very accessible, right? I mean, it's noise music. I mean, it's you got to be in the right frame of mind to, want to listen to that stuff. But Boredoms around this time, they had two albums that are probably their most accessible ones. It's like Vision, Creation, New Sun, and Super AE, where they were actually getting a little bit more progressive, kind of like what you're talking about with the Cowboy Bebop stuff, like more like progressive rock, adding in lots of different elements, and it's actually pretty accessible. I mean, some of it's still pretty grating, but I did go find the soundtrack on YouTube, and the beginning is insanely harsh. that part's like really hard to digest there, but yeah, no, I really love that type of music. Like if you're in the right frame of mind, it's pretty energetic, and it's unlike most of what you'll listen to. I'll tell you that much. I mean, it's pretty cool, but I think Miike used it really well too. Like some of like the way he had them integrated in some of the scenes, like I was saying, some of those chase scenes and stuff like that, man, it was perfect for those, man. Like that was like, earlier I said, I don't know if I'll ever rewatch this. I think I'm, you guys and myself, I've talked myself into, I'm going to check this out again.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. You should.
It's good. And my rating's going up as we're talking.
Oh wow. Nice. It's a weird. It's that PCP movie night effect. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We also have the DHS effect. Sometimes that makes us go down. Hammer time. What do you think about the music in the film?
I think the music is great. I can't really add anything that Brian hasn't added. That it's the dude from Boredoms, and I like it. It works well for the film. It's not. I wouldn't run out and buy the soundtrack, but I think it works appropriately. I definitely give the director credit, because he's the only two films I've seen of his both have very appropriate music. You know what I'm saying? Like it works really well. It doesn't feel like it's phoned in. Obviously, there are certain directors that are definitely more hands-on with the music. Like this is what I want, or this is what's needed. And I think he must be one of those, to get maybe if he wasn't in charge of the music, he at least got the appropriate party to be part of the vision of the overall, final product. So I like the music. I think it works exceptionally well for the film.
Hell yeah. What about you, Brooks? What do you think?
I liked it. It goes all over the place, just like this movie. So it's very fitting, I think. It can be like kind of toned down and like ambient at moments, and then it'll go like crazy, and then you'll get like guitar riffs, and it'll go like punk rock for a little while. So yeah, I thought it really does fit this movie, very well. Just by how chaotic it kind of is, I think.
Speaking of fitting in because of the chaos, Jelani, what do you think about the music?
Yeah, it's sheer chaos. It's madness. It's all over the place. It does, like you said, Robbie, it does have that Cowboy Bebop feel to it. I was gonna say that when I was watching it too, because it's very, and it's got that jazz feel to it, but you're not, you don't have a problem with that. No, I'm pretty sure it's a lot of progress.
Jelani hates jazz, by the way, if anybody doesn't remember that bit.
I hate it. It's just all over the place. I can only stand it in Cowboy Bebop, because it's good. But for this movie, I mean, it works. It works really well. It's all over the place, just like this movie. It's all freaking over the place. I didn't know that the guys that made this. I had no clue, no background in them, but they did a great job. It is loud sounding, crazy noise in appropriate places. It's smooth in other places. Even when Suzuki's getting burned, there's music in that, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. So you get little instances of just great music that accompanies this movie very well. So
Yeah,
I mean,
it also plays up some of the comedic elements very well too.
Yeah,
certainly.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. But it's
All right.
I don't know, no problems with the music. It's great.
Hell yeah. All right. Now, this is one of my favorite parts of the show. And in particular, very excited to hear what you guys pulled from this movie as far as theme goes. What is the movie trying to say, Brian? Why don't you kick us off, man?
Whew. Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean,
Now I'd like 2 eggs over hard.
It took long enough.
yeah. No, I guess one of the main things I pulled from it was just violence breeds more violence, and that kind of concept that people are steeped in it, raised in it, and some like the kid, and may not be having the best upbringing, but all the things he witnesses, right, obviously going to have an effect, everything. But yeah, I'm not sure what other. Because these people's journeys, if you will, were all like pretty horrible, really.
Yeah.
I know.
Almost
Talking about
Miike
Ichi being a hero. I'm sorry.
I was going to say Miike could also be considered almost like some of the early Guy Ritchie films are kind of like a British equivalent of what he does with some of his. What was it again, Brian? Yakuza.
Yakuza.
But yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it's maybe it's the crime doesn't pay. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. I thought it was funny that people are talking about Ichi being a hero, and it's kind of like, yeah, I don't know. I don't even think anti-hero applies here.
No,
I mean,
because
it's just like everybody's bad.
Yeah,
right?
and nothing that Ichi's trying to do is willfully noble. I mean,
Right.
It's all manipulated. Yeah. It's all, you know what I'm saying? Like nothing that I don't know.
I mean, he's saving women to rape them too. I mean, that's not really like,
I get it now. You want me to. Like, it's so weird. It's so fucking weird. And I can see why today's lens, some people might think the movie would be quote unquote problematic. I don't think so. I think we need to explore these things. And it definitely explores it in a way where you don't come out of it going, these dudes have it made. I want that life. Like,
that's correct.
I don't want to be anybody in this fucking movie.
Not a million.
I want to dress like one dude. You know what I'm saying? But I don't
totally want to dress like Kakihara. That's for
exactly.
Sure.
Yep.
Dude is sharp.
You should start doing it, Brian. Just fucking do it.
Yeah, just fucking do it, man.
I might have some clothes with it.
You can do it, man. You can wear a tight ass.
I know I got the body. I know I got the body.
Hammer time. What do you think about the theme of the movie? What's it saying to you?
I don't know, man. It was fucked up. Is what it's you're definitely right though. You could sort of, here's the Joker, here's the Batman, but you never take away that Ichi's the good guy. No one ever glamorizes him as being the good guy. You know what I'm saying? That no one idolizes. You were talking about how like this would be a hard film to make or how it's inappropriate, but really they don't glamorize any of these people and make any of these people the good guys. So I'm happy they don't do that. So that's why I think part of the reason the film holds up is because even the best people or the most noble people, look at the guy, the ex-cop or whatever. I mean, I know there's a lot of law enforcement in it, but the one ex-cop that lost his gun, seems like maybe he was just down on his luck, but then he beats that girl to death or whatever, what the fuck? And
he's all in.
After she already had her nipples sliced off. Like, come on, bro.
Yeah,
that's a great scene too, where there's like,
oh my god, that was the hardest for me to watch.
Especially since I just got my nipples sliced off. Made it harder to watch. I don't know, man. I don't really know. Yeah, I do agree with Brian that, crime breeds crime. Like, nobody benefits from being part of the Yakuza. You know what I'm saying? Even if you think you do, or you think you're a badass, or you think you got this brotherhood, it doesn't benefit. You know what I'm saying? There's no, at the end, everybody basically gets screwed over.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's makes me I don't know. I won't join the. Okay, here's what the film tells me: don't join the Yakuza. I was going to. I sent him that picture of Brooks, but now I'm gonna withdraw my.
You're like Pedro Pascal in Wonder Woman 84. I renounce my wish. That movie should have totally had him be like, it should have ended 20 minutes in when he's like, I wish to be the Dreamstone. He just becomes a fucking rock.
Stone.
He can't do anything.
Yeah.
And the credits roll.
Yes, the credits is like Law and Order. Da-dun. Anyway, Brooks, what's this movie speaking to you, man? Any profound thing that you can pull out of this one?
Well, I think like a big theme of this movie is kind of like the danger of manipulating people. You know, you have somebody like Ichi, who's like, you know, he's a confused young man. You know, he has a lot of problems, like, you know, expressing himself. Like, you know, he doesn't know how he should treat people, I don't think. And so this older dude is kind of just taking advantage of that, you know, and, you know, basically trying to convince him like, oh, if you want to be a hero, you have to, this is how you do it. You know, you were bullied and you hate bullies, right? And then he just kind of like, you know, just points him at whoever he wants him to go after, you know, by just saying like, these are the bullies. Doesn't that guy look like that bully, you know? It's a thing like, you know, that still happens to this day, you know. There's a lot of people out there who are just wanting to take advantage of people who, you know, who feel like, you know, they don't have any control in their lives. And so they can step in and like, I can do your thinking for you. Like, I can tell you who the bad guys are. Like, I can tell you who the good guys are, you know, like people like me. And it seems like, you know, that's a dangerous thing too, you know, because, you know, people aren't meant to live their lives that way. And eventually, you know, you can get like situations, you know, like with Ichi where he just snaps and like just kind of goes off and does his own thing. And I think that's kind of like the end game or the end product pretty much of most of this kind of, you know, thing, you know, people being treated like that, you know, when they realize that they've been manipulated, they've been treated like garbage, you know, they lash out, and, you know, sometimes it can be pretty bad.
Deep Thoughts by Brooks Gibbs and Takashi Miike, right? Like, holy shit. That was really well put, Brooks. Thank you for that. I wouldn't
Made me
even
look bad, Brooks. You piece of shit.
We should have had
college,
Brooks so you could have been like,
I have a college degree.
Jelani, what's this one speaking to you, my man?
Oh man, Brooks kind of nailed the manipulation part, but I feel like it's like this is more like Takashi's movie. I can't remember his name now. I'll call him Joker. Basically, Joker wanted to experience
Takahiro.
Kakihara. He is insane.
You know that deep down inside, we all think he's Ichi, right? Like,
yeah.
We all...
yeah.
Let's call him not
just
call
as
him
insane.
Scratchy.
There's Ichi and Ichi is Scratchy. Yeah. It's his, I think it was just his quest to find the best pain possible. And he was willing to go to any lengths to get it. I mean, even when he disrespects Suzuki by doing what he did to Suzuki, he's as penance, he cut his own tongue off. I mean, his face is scarred. He's got the Joker smile, that awful CG grab. It always goes back to him, because I always think that he's just looking for this ultimate. He's like an adrenaline junkie. He's looking for his next high. He's looking for that next like plateau to climb. And he can't, you know, at first he's like happy because he thinks he found a mate in Karen, because, you know, she's helping him pull that guy's face off. Face off. And and he thinks that that's, you know, what he needs to do, or he needs a mate or someone that is willing to hurt him as much as his boss did, because his boss beat the crap out of him, and he's a sadist. And he wants to feel pain at all times. He doesn't want anything to like really take him over. But now he thinks he's found it in Ichi, and he thinks that he can either find his ultimate pain or his ultimate height by antagonizing this creature, that because you can't call Ichi a human. That's a damn creature. And he thinks that that's going to be enough for him. And then he finds out that it's not. You know, he needs to figure it out for himself, and instead of trying to figure it out for himself, he jams things in his ears and kills himself. So I think it's mostly about him and about his internal struggle and what he feels is ultimate pain. Ichi has the same kind of issues because he's the different side of the same coin because he thinks he's justice and doing these things. But at the same time, they're kind of both the same person, but two different sides. And Ichi's like a pervert, nonsense person, just a nonsense creature thing that killed his own parents, decided he was going to become whatever this was. I don't even know how he got his suit. That thing's awesome. And a killer knife. But you never see him kill anybody for real. Like, you never see him like, that room full of people. I would have loved to see that. I would have loved to see what he did. Like, I would really love to see that. But
I think it's better not seeing it.
I know, but I would have loved to see it anyway. It would have been cool. But I think that they're both the same kind of thing because they're both reaching for their pain. They're looking for some kind of rush to, feel something. It looks like they don't want to feel. And that's what I got from the movie. It's insane. It's just an insane watch. And if I was trying to pull something,
would have been happy just staying home playing Tekken.
Right.
Yeah. I was expecting the twist there to be a twist in the movie. It never happened, of course, but I was expecting like that the gangster guy actually set off the whole sequence of events that led to his boss getting killed, so that he could find somebody worth giving him his death or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I really love what all of you said tonight, right? And you got the idea of the pushing the boundaries of sensation. This is a sensational film, right? You've got yeah, right? Yeah, no shit. Where's Pinhead? Like, what the fuck is going on? Like, Kakihiro should have just fucking found the lament configuration.
That's it.
He'd been fucking happy as shit.
Turn it 3 times and it opens.
I see you hung him by the ceiling with hooks. Very impressive.
No shit, man. Jesus wept, right? I love the idea that Brooks was talking about with the manipulation, right? And like what happens with in particular, like Ichi's supposed to be pretty young here. Like, like the manipulation of youth and what that leads to into early adulthood, right? That kind of adds in with what John and Brian were saying. And what I wanted to say was, to me, this movie is about the compounding interest of violence, right? Of violence and the acceptance of violence. We are dealing with people in this movie where violence is a way of life,
it's
right?
normal for them to watch torture.
So matter of fact, right? And as Brian was pointing out, how does that influence the next generation? But I do think, and I'm not ever going to accuse Takashi Miike of being like really heavily into like social commentary and stuff like that, though it seems to be in his movies, but it's so weird because, for instance, you could read Audition as being feminist or anti-feminist. Yeah. You could read this movie as being that, right? And like, and it's just I think what I love about Takashi Miike's work is that he shows it as it is. Like he said, my movies are violent because the characters are violent. I'm not doing that. They are, right? And we don't need to shy away from the way characters act when we're trying to explore these kind of themes. But this is a world that is embedded so much in violence that it's comedic, right? It's desensitizing. You can eat SpaghettiOs while watching it, right? I don't know why you would be fucking eating SpaghettiOs at 40-something years of age, but come on.
Hey, don't judge me.
I had some beef Chef Boyardee ravioli last night, bro.
Yeah, the cheese ones or the beef ones?
I had the cheese ones, man.
Dude, I had the cheese ones like 2 days ago.
Bro, station. Where's Chef Boyardee? Hey, wait. It is Chef Boyardee. What is it? All right, y'all gotten smarter.
Yeah.
No, that's what I want to say. It's so the other thing is this.
Oh, I thought it was an overhard joke. Sorry.
It was
I get it
D's
now.
Nuts.
It was a
D's
sorry.
Nuts
These
drop.
nuts. Yeah,
You
yeah.
completely missed it. Yeah.
Got there.
Here's a pro tip, everybody. If you want to get somebody in an unexpected D's nuts joke, just randomly go, who makes the best canned spaghetti?
Great value.
And most people will say Chef Boyardee, and then you get to say boy are these nuts all over your face, or however you want to do that.
Sounds fair.
I love the Boyardee one. Imagine Dragons is a good one too. Do you like Imagine Dragons, anybody? So, what was I saying? I'm talking about the theme. I'm trying to be important here. I want you to pay attention to this. Brooks, you were talking about manipulation. Manipulation through what? Media, maybe? Is Takashi Miike making a statement here where Ichi, all he wants to do is what? Read
Play
porn,
video games.
watch porn, and play violent video games.
Oh yeah.
Is that saying something about youth culture? Is what is happening with the Yakuza and their integration of their violence into society over decades, generationally speaking, is that somehow akin to hyper violent video games or pornography or any of these other things? Is this movie talking about, yeah, they're bad people, but what's the difference? What's the difference between indulging in these fantasies and living them out? Right? Like, I don't know. I mean, there is a difference, but you know me, I like to talk about Wes Craven and the idea of the monster and the shadow inside, and we have to accept it. Maybe we need to stop casting so much judgment on everybody else for having the same violent tendencies that we do. Maybe we need to start a different conversation. I don't know. Am I against hyper-violent video games or movies? Fuck no. I love this one, but we can explore why we like it so much, right? In a safe and healthy way. We can do that, right? Right? I don't know. That's what
We just did.
Maybe we just did. We've solved the world's problems in an hour and 8 minutes, and it took fucking Takashi Miike 2 hours and 8 minutes to do it. All right. Time to rate the film. You out there in the chat, if you watched Ichi the Killer, let us know out of 5 you digs. What do you rate it? Brian, why don't you go ahead and overhard yourself and kick us off tonight?
Okay. Thank you. I'm going to go with the 4.0. I don't know. Said a lot of great things about it. Originally I said I probably wouldn't watch this again, but y'all talked me into wanting to rewatch it and check out some more of Miike's films. And it's an incredibly well-crafted movie and a lot of great stuff.
Watch The Happiness of the Katakuris. I want to hear your thoughts on that, man.
Okay. You have
I
that?
really want to hear your thoughts on that one. That's a fucking weird one, man. It's like all of a sudden it goes into a Muppet movie sometimes. It's so fucking weird, man.
I would love to watch that.
Yeah,
I'll watch that anytime.
I actually don't own it, but Arrow has a nice release. You should buy it for me for my birthday coming up in a month. Hammer time. Out of 5 you digs, what do you give Ichi the Killer?
Ichi. No, I'm kidding.
I did say Ichi, right? I've been trying to go between
Ichi
and Ichi.
It's Ichi, which is 1.
Itchy.
That's why he's got the 1 on his back.
Yeah,
so,
1. Yeah.
So I give it Ichi, but that's a joke. I wouldn't give it a 1 out of 5 because it's actually I give it Yon, which is 4. So I give it a 4. I give it a 4. You digs. I enjoyed it. I think it's a cool concept. I don't think it's the greatest film ever made, but I think the execution is done real well. I think the cast is phenomenal. So I think they did such a good job that, I was thinking maybe a 3, but really when I think about how well the cast pulled everything together, and I just, it's a pretty damn good movie.
And none of them like ham it up, right? Like that's what's so funny. The movie is comedic and it's got this light touch to it, even though it's dealing with really hyper violent situations and a lot of brutality, especially towards some women, right? It maintains this level, but none of those characters break that. They all are like in the moment, reacting very authentically to these situations according to their characters. I like those thoughts. What about you, Brooks? Out of 5 you digs, what do you give Ichi the Killer?
I'd give this one a 5. I really liked it. I'd totally watch it again. It's one of the more, I think it's one of the more interesting movies that I've seen in a while. And I just really enjoyed this one. It really suits the mood of March Madness, I think.
Yeah, right? My heart grew 3 fucking sizes just now, man, because, like, I have disappointed Brooks, I feel, like, with March Madness. I feel like I have personally let you down, right? You didn't really like Tenebrae for some fucking reason. You didn't really, we're vibing with Dress to Kill, and Don't Torture Duckling was all right, you know? But, like, a 5? Fuck yeah, Brooks, Station.
This is definitely probably the best movie out of the March Madness lineup for me.
Okay, it's my second favorite, but yeah, bro, Brooks, I got you next March Madness, bro. I know what you're ready for. I think you're ready for some Exorcist 3. Anyway, moving on. That's the greatest. Jelani, why don't you tell us what you rate this film?
Man, I love this film. I don't get it, man. Last time I saw this was like 20 years ago, and like the second I saw it again, it was like right out of just like riding a bicycle for how much I love this film. It's ultra violent. It's crazy. All the characters are like lovably awful. The CG is gaudy. The music is insane. The quick cuts, the cinematography, everything about this film is absolutely golden. I agree with Brooks. This is a 5, like freaking you dig movie. I love it. If I had. In fact, I'm watching it after this because I loved it that much. Like, I gotta get there are things in this movie that I have to like watch again to be sure I was right about. But like, I guessed a few things in the movie from years ago to now that I was just piecing together. Because there's some movies I've seen 20 years ago and I don't remember crap about them. But this was like, oh yeah, I remember that. I remember Karen's dumb enough to walk in that room. Oh yeah, she did get hypnotized. He screwed her over. You know, that guy was screwing everybody over. And it took me a while to piece all that together this time because I was like, oh yeah, I get it. I totally get it. So yes, 5 digs, man. This is clean. This movie is so clean. Watch this film. Be surprised at all the blood splatter. I love the deaths in this. It's just everybody dies so bloody horribly. It's gorgeous. Like Ichi is like
gorgeous.
It's beautiful murder. It's horrible murder. It's the best part, and it reminds me a lot. Yeah. Thanks, Brooks, for that Clockwork Orange / freaking Kung Fu Hustle, because that's exactly what it is.
It's really like good way to fucking describe this. Man.
It's insane, man. It's like super. It plays straight in parts, but then it's absolutely a cartoon at the same time. It's just okay, all right, and you roll with it. And it's one of those movies. It's like I'll say it's also like Shoot 'em Up, like Shoot 'em Up.
Yeah, okay. Clive Owen.
Clive Owen and
Paul Giamatti and Monica Bellucci, right?
Yeah, I love that movie. But it kind of has that feel. We need to do that movie too. But
yeah, apparently I found out we were actually talking about this on DHS on Saturday. And Scarpad was telling me that it's a forgotten film. Like it's never been released really. It's not available. It's not streaming anywhere. It's one of those fucking movies, man.
That's
insane.
You gotta
go find the DVDs, man. That's a great movie. More people need to watch it. Nothing makes me happier at the end of a March Madness than seeing a perfect score from Jelani and from Brooks. So that is freaking awesome. I'll go 4.5. I don't think it's perfect. I think it's a really solid film. I am honored though. I almost want to go 5 to solidarity, right? But I'll be honest, because gotta take this seriously, man. For me, it's a 4.5. It is a solid film. It's not one I can throw on any time. Oddly enough, Audition is one I can throw on any time. Like, I think that movie's got more levels of nuance. It's got a little bit more to say. This one, though, is there is not a movie like this.
It's March Madness. This is madness.
It's March Madness, and this is a movie truly rooted in madness and the whole idea of what it's about. But I'm going to go 4.5 because I think it's very well done. It is my cup of tea. I love it. And yeah, I'm going 4.5. So a 4.5 from me, a 4 from Brian and Hammer Time, and a 5 from Jelani and Brooks for a PCP average of 4.5 you digs. You know what that means? I'm right, motherfuckers. So there you go. Anyway, because I'm in the middle of 2. Anyway, I don't even know if the math works out right, but
Don't do math here.
Yeah, it is what it is. No, but regardless, man, I think it's been the highest rated March Madness episode, and that includes DHS. Think about that. Ichi the Killer, because Brooks was refusing to fucking relent on Tenebrae, and I don't understand why.
It tied with me. Tenebrae is
not that good, man.
March Madness has been weird to me. It started with like my greatest disappointment, which was Brooks not digging Tenebrae, and now my greatest fucking excitement, which is Brooks loving Ichi the Killer. Like a 5. Was that your first 5 of the year? Maybe.
I don't think so.
I don't know. If it was, it won't be your last, because next week I'll be, just recovering from MegaCon, so we're off for PCP movie night. But in 2 weeks, April 9th, one of the most important films of the 20th century, y'all. We're talking about Stop or My Mom Will Shoot, starring Sylvester Stallone and Estelle Getty. Very, very excited for that. But do check out Dylan's Horror Show on Saturday, because it's April Fool's Day. So they're talking about April Fool's Day. I won't be there because I'll be in MegaCon meeting Frank Miller at that exact moment they're recording that show. However, me, Jelani Brooks, and a few others ended March Madness last year with a look at April Fool's Day. So no spoilers, Jelani. I know you don't like it, but no spoilers, because we got some thank you done. I know. Nobody liked that movie last year but me, and I feel like Dylan's going to be alone again since I won't be there. I just feel like they're going to fucking hate the movie. Anyway, April Fool's Day from Dylan, that's going to be on Dylan's Horror Show Saturday night, 6:30 p.m.-ish Central Time. But in 2 weeks, join us back for a PCP movie night. Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. By the way, right after that is Goodfellas, and then the week after that is the Rocky franchise, and that's just Rocky, not Creed. Creed deserves its own look, separate, but Rocky. So guys, start watching those Rocky movies. I've already rewatched part 1. Spoiler, still a fucking banger, still a 5 you digs movie. You know what I'm saying? Like Rocky 1 is perfection. Anyway, Brian, thank you so much for being here. Final thoughts, man?
Thanks for having me. I really dug this movie, and always have fun on these movie reviews. So
why don't you make the official announcement about April 16th for us?
Yeah, really excited. April 16th, we're going to have another conversation with Dan Waters. Easily one of our favorite writers. And so get to talk to him about Arkham City and his upcoming projects. And
Cowboy Bebop. We get to talk
Cowboy
to him about
Bebop.
Cowboy
That's
Bebop.
right.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, you may not have liked the live action show, but that comic he wrote was actually pretty dang dope. Could have easily fit into the animated series. It was really good.
Thank you, figure drawing. I am right. Nice. I just knew it intuitively. Brian, Thank you, Brian. Hammer Time Whole Shoe. Thank you,
Brian.
So much. It's always so good when you're here, John, because you don't join us as much as we would like, but we love spending time with you, Hammer Time. So thank you for being here. Any final thoughts?
Thank you for having me. Arigato gozaimasu.
And I'm saving a spot for Stopper. My Mom Will Shoot for you, bro. Come on.
I might be busy that night. I was going to murder a prostitute.
Yes, please admit it. On this
by the way,
stream.
we did American Psycho Saturday on DHS, so this was a really good 1-2 punch, I think, between American Psycho and Ichi, man. Like, for real.
I've never seen American Psycho.
I still hadn't seen that one either.
It's awesome.
Thanks for having me.
What do you think about American Psycho, Hammer Time?
It's been a while since I've seen that. Is that the one with Christian Bale?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember it being okay. It kind of reminds me of this film as far as the being kind of dark and
murdering sex workers.
Yeah. Isn't he he's like a businessman, right? Isn't he also like a blue collar?
He's like Wall Street, right? And he's obsessed with Lewis, Joel Collins.
I'm not really going to murder prostitutes, just for the record.
Okay,
I'm against murdering prostitutes.
Thank you for
just making a reference.
Yeah.
Something's going to come up in the near future, and I'm going to be like pointed at, and I'll be like, "He said it on live." I'm like, no, I didn't. I don't. So
you're
just
the you're the one digging that fucking hole right now.
Bro. Don't murder prostitutes. That's my. If you leave tonight's show, that's my recommendation.
A good code to live by. Brooks, final thoughts.
Well, I've been doing some videos, with this fella, this Delaney fella here for Go Figure reviews. So we'll be doing some more of those. Be coming out soon. I'm not going to give anything away because I like people to be surprised. But
I already did it, man. It's too late. Continue.
Should be pretty interesting.
That's some fucked up shit, man. Brooks is excited to do this show. You're like, bro, I already did it without you, man. It's like when that Cartoonist Kayfabe video dropped and there was no Jim Rugg. I'm like, what the fuck, Ed?
No, we do our videos together. I don't do anything without Brooks now. Brooks and I are a team. Yeah.
We didn't do a new one last night, so you've already put that one up.
Oh, yeah. I had to hurry up and do that because I get tired.
Efficient.
And editing sucks, man.
You know about the frog dude, man?
We are doing Frogmonger. We got a Frogmonger video. The Mattel Creations. I keep saying Marvel. But it's Mattel Creations Frogmonger. It was like a really hard thing to get online. And it like went up exponentially. But I just dropped that video last night. We also dropped a Chun-Li video that was with it was like a Street Fighter and
Let's be honest. Let's be honest. Raise your hand if you fantasize about Chun-Li during masturbation back in the day.
Thighs.
That's a throwback to an inside joke. Most people won't get that, but Brian's like, what the fuck is
Chun-Li?
I was trying to think in my head.
Like, you saw them thighs. You saw them
maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Cammy for sure, right?
Cammy definitely. But yeah, and then finally we did a 3-pack of the Storm, Forge, and Jubilee X-Men set. We're gonna get the other 3 soon, hopefully. If Mike comes through or if Big Bag comes through, I don't know. We'll see. But we're gonna do those videos soon as we get them. So thank you so much for watching, and guys, sub up, please. We're at 163 subscribers. Brooks and I work really hard on these, and Robbie has been on these too. Soon we're gonna put Robbie on a little bit more. So thank you guys so much. I'm not even doing the final thought. This is still Brooks's time. So
this is your final thought, brother. Okay, just so you know, this is your final thought.
All right. Well, thanks guys for watching our videos, and please continue to do so. That's it.
Hell yeah, man. I'm excited for the videos that we got coming up that we're talking about. So it's always fun time hanging with you guys, talking about action figures. I haven't got my Frogmonger yet, but it's on the way. And Brooks, if you haven't gotten yours yet, did you get one, Brooks?
I didn't.
Mike wanted me to tell you not to worry. It's on the way.
Okay.
So you're good.
Excellent.
All right, y'all. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, man. My final thought is this. Watch Ichi the Killer and tell us that you want John on more of these shows and less of Brian, please. Saturday night, April Fool's Day.
Boom.
Join Dylan's Horror Show. I won't be there, but join him. Trust me. Like, still join him even though I'm not there. It's great. But do check out our March Madness review last year as well. But in 2 weeks, we return for PCP Movie Night with one of the most important films of the 90s, Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. I'll be honest with y'all. I loved the fuck out of this movie back in the day. I have not seen it. But it was sent to me by our homie Twitch. So I got it on Blu-ray. And I'm ready to go. And I cannot wait for Drew to weird stretch on your ass, Jelani, when he's like,
Stop
really?
Yeah. I haven't even asked him yet.
I just knew there were like, I was like, I got this trinity in my head. Kindergarten Cop, Cop and a Half, and Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. And I was like, we'll do Stop or My Mom Will Shoot first. But
I love
don't worry.
Cop, though.
We'll do Kindergarten Cop and we'll do Cop and a Half. That's not a tumor. Yeah, y'all remember that one. All right, y'all, we're dipping out here. Thank you so much. March Madness 2023 has been one for the ages. If you missed it, check it out. DHS PCP Movie Night. We're ready, but we got a great lineup for April. Stop or My Mom Will Shoot, Goodfellas, and the Rocky franchise. Till then, put some love in your violence, please.